Based on a past video, I thought it would be a good idea to make a stringing tutorial guide for everybody to watch. Now, if you want a tutorial on how to buy the best string machine for your budget, I will leave a link to that video in this corner if you guys want to check it out. This is the full guide, start to finish, mains and crosses, and knots on how to string a racket. Let's get started. Before we even start stringing the mains, which is what we are going to be stringing first, I highly suggest you take a look at the racket after you take out the old strings and make sure that there are no cracks in it. There is a difference between a paint crack and an actual crack inside of the structure of the frame. But if you're unsure, either give it to a more experienced racket stringer or technician, or just give it back to the client in general, because you don't want to further damage the racket, and you certainly don't want to damage your expensive string machine that you bought. It is extremely important to know what racket you're going to be restringing. Now, I know this racket is the Wilson Pro Staff RF97 from a few years ago, and it is a 16 by 19 string pattern. Therefore, it is an open string pattern because it has 16 mains and not 18. 18 would indicate that it's a closed string pattern. And according to the documentation, I'm going to be skipping the 7th and the 9th tail of the main, and then the 7th and the 9th head of the mains. And if you guys ever forget that, you could always just go online and take a look at which mains you're going to be skipping. And since this is an open string pattern, I know to measure 20 feet of string for the mains and 20 feet of string for the crosses. If you have a closed string pattern, meaning if you have 18 mains, I would measure 21 or 21 and a half feet for the mains and still leave about 20 feet on the crosses, or maybe even slightly less if you're using a packet instead of a reel. But after knowing how much string to use for the mains and crosses, knowing the string pattern, and knowing what mains to skip on the tennis racket, it's time to actually mount the racket on the string machine and get started stringing the mains. Let's go. So after setting the tensioner to 55 pounds, which is what the client wants on his tension for this racket, I'm going to mount and center this Wilson Pro Staff onto the 6-point mount and evenly start tightening it until it's firmly in place. And I know if it's firmly in place because I am adjusting these knobs firmly but not too tight. And I know that this racket handle is not wobbly anymore, and there are no loose spaces between the braces and the actual inside part of the racket. So I am actually good to go to get the strings. And as I said, because it's an open string pattern, I want 20 feet for the mains. And a little bit of a tip, I always two-piece unless I find a very, very good reason to one-piece a racket. It makes the tension even out just a little bit better compared to a one-piece. I know that this is 20 feet because of my wingspan, and I've been doing this for a very long time. So I know to be starting at the throat because of the way that the grommets are set up at the throat. So I'm going to thread this through to the head counterpart, then do the exact same thing for the other half. Now, to ensure that they are both exactly the same length on both sides, I just take both of the ends and I just pull it through naturally. Make sure it doesn't notch, and then boom, even. So you're gonna clamp one side closest to the throat, and clamp the base, and take the other side and pull the tension on it. And when that tension holds, clamp it to the closest to the tension and release the tension. And I'm gonna do this until I'm halfway done on the side I started on. Okay, so that's 4, that's half. After that, I want to string the other side in full. So not just 4 on the other side, the actual full 8 on the other half. So do you remember when I said that knowing the string pattern and knowing what mains to skip is super important? Well, we're at that point now because I've strung on this side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you look at the documentation online, it says to skip the 7th and the 9th main. So that means I will skip this one, go to the next one because it doesn't say skip the 8th. And then because the tail and the head main grommets are the same skip, I'm going to skip the 7th head main on this side as well. So I'm gonna go from the 8th grommet here on the tail to the 8th grommet here on the head. And then the exact same thing because I'm gonna be skipping the 8th. So I'm gonna skip the 8th and then go to the 9th. Same exact thing with the head. And then again, according to the documentation, the same exact thing with the tail as well. By the way, head means towards the tip of the racket. Tail, T, also known as throat, is more towards the handle of the racket, if you guys are confused about that. So I have skipped all the proper mains on this side. Now I want to finish the remainder on the other side, skipping the exact same heads and tail grommet as the documentation said. Now, the other hard part, other than starting stringing a tennis racket, is actually the knots, which is the ending part. I really hope you guys appreciate this angle because it was kind of a bitch to set up. So I'm going to do a double knot for the ending knot, which is the best type of knot to finish both mains and crosses with. So as you can see, this is the last main on this side, and this is a good candidate to tie the knot in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the very end, thread it through, carefully but firmly, without completely destroying my camera. Then what I'm going to do, you might guys have to watch this a few times, but see how it's on this side? I want to go over the main, under, and then up. So that's one part of the knot. And then I'm gonna go over and under the same exact way, from here to here, then up through in itself, just like that, up that loop. And then I'm gonna pull tension manually with my hand on the first one, so it's nice and tight, and then pull it on the second one, just like that. And then you release the clamp, boom. You have a perfect double knot to end that main. Then you're gonna do the exact same thing with the other side. Same exact grommet. Pull through. Go over, then under, just like that. And then one more time, over, then under in itself. And you got a perfect double knot to end the other main. And just like that, release. Cut the excess because you don't want us to be bothering you when you're weaving crosses. And then, time to start on the crosses. If you did enjoy and found this first part of the stringing tutorial informative, please hit like and consider hitting subscribe for more original tennis content, including match play, tennis string reviews, and tutorials like stringing tennis rackets. I love teaching people how to do things just a little bit better and sharing my knowledge with you guys. I will have part 2 of this tutorial up very soon, and when it's up, I will leave a link down in the description below. And in the meanwhile, I'll see you guys next time. Crosses will be up very soon.